positive they're pronounced one way because, you know, it of how it's spelt and whatnot. But then make the introduction. I was like, okay, I can't miss this. And then there's like 800 different ways there's like a C or something that they didn't, I don't know.
It's like not in there.
Yeah, there's like a C or something that's not in there. And it's like, all right, here we sit. So that's my screw up. Cool. All right. Awesome. So we are live. If you are ready, I will do the intro and we'll jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Cool. Good. Boom. All right. Awesome. Welcome to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another basic podcast. Today, we have a very special guest coming from, I'm going to say, my home neck of the woods, although Northern Illinois and Wisconsin are almost two completely different things. We got Kayla Hawkins. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Actually, you are my second Wisconsinite in a row that I've had on this podcast.
It's exciting.
I just realized that just because the person I just had on recently, she was from Wisconsin, and I'm like, okay. And then, yeah, so that's wild.
The Midwest run. Midwest is best.
Yeah. But really excited to have you on, really excited to chat. And you're currently fundraising for your debut EP, and
yes,
really excited to jump into that. So first off, before we kind of jump into everything, you're from Wisconsin. What was it like growing up there?
Cold.
Fair.
I think it's funny because so my family grew up doing horse stuff. So everyone's always like, oh, you're from Wisconsin. Like, do you ski, like snowboard? And I'm like, no, I rode horses. So winter, we just hunkered down and hoped for the best. We were like, okay, we're ready for the warm weather now.
Yeah. That's so funny. Did you guys use, so my mom's originally from like a half hour or so from the Wisconsin border, and she used to tell me stories about how her and my dad met. They would take snowmobiles everywhere.
Yes, that's a thing. Another thing I don't do, but that's a big thing up here. Yeah.
Okay. It was just always one of those things where it's like, you guys are crazy. It doesn't snow that much. And they're like, oh, yes, it did. So
it does.
That's so wild. Oh, so growing up in Wisconsin, you're doing a lot of horse stuff. I'm assuming like horse training and riding and stuff of that nature, or?
Yeah, I'm actually a third generation barrel racer. My grandfather got my dad, got all of his siblings into horses, but my dad and aunt stuck with it. And then me and my brother also grew up riding. We had a little one-eyed pony named Star. That's started it all.
Yeah. Awesome. So how long did you do barrel racing for, or do you still kind of do it from time to time?
I still kind of do it.
Okay.
I have my own horse now, Einstein. He had a neurological disorder within the first year that I got him.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if we're still dealing with some residual effects from that. And I traveled a lot when I first got him, so I wasn't able to be really consistent with his training. So I took him to a horse show last year and it went pretty well, except for he escaped from the trailer and ran around the fairgrounds. So he went on a little adventure. I was like, nice. Come back. I literally was sitting with my trainer and her horse and I was like, oh, there's a loose horse. And I was like, oh, that's mine.
Oh, it's embarrassing when it happens. It's embarrassing as it happens. And then now you're probably looking back on it. It's like, yeah, it was kind of funny.
It's a funny little memory. And then another horse that she had brought also later escaped. And she's like, they're not going to let us come back here.
Right.
It was just funny.
That's so, so you still kind of do the barrel racing thing. While you were kind of growing up with doing horses and barrel racing and stuff like that, how does kind of music work its way into your life?
I was just always really into music. That was something I remember just always being really into. I was really creative as a kid. And I would host sing-alongs in our living room. Me and my brother, I would rope him into singing Disney songs in the living room and putting on shows for my parents and family members. I kind of wanted to be on Broadway when I was younger. I'm a horrible dancer, so that was never going to pan out. but yeah, I just loved like singing and acting and all that sort of thing. I was obsessed with lyrics.
Mm.
I have vivid memories of sitting in the back of my like parents' car with the lyric booklet from a CD and like reading the lyrics. And I remember it was Brad Paisley sleeping on the fold out, and I was like, Dad, do you think that really happened? Like, do you think this song like do you think that's the story behind it? It happened? And he was like, I have no idea. So I just became really obsessed with the stories that songs told, and that for me snowballed into writing my own stuff.
Nice. You said you would sing Disney songs, all right?
Oh yeah, we did a lot of
Do you
Disney in the house.
What was your go-to Disney song during these times?
I feel like it was probably either Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas
Fair,
or like anything from Lion King, because I was obsessed with Lion King.
fair. And in the 90s, I think there was no Disney movie that touched Lion King. I think almost any kid that was in any form of the public school system, or just in school in general, it was Lion King. That was what got quoted the most. That and maybe
That
Toy
was
Story.
Yes, Toy Story was good
Yeah,
too. That was my original career aspirations. I wanted to grow up and be a lion, and my dad was like, "You are a human. You can't grow up and be a lion."
right,
And I was like, "Okay."
right. I don't think, no, I've never told this on the podcast. When I was in second grade, I was never a singer. I was never a performer. I was never that kid that wanted the attention like that. But a buddy of mine named Mike, we had this idea of doing an interpretive dance to I Just Want to Be King.
Yes.
And so I show up to like, we didn't rehearse anything. We didn't practice because I only knew the lyrics. So I would just be like lip syncing to this song. And then we just kind of started like running around like crazy people because this was for like a talent show. So we were kind of
Yes.
auditioning. And so like for the audition, we just kind of rolled around like crazy people. And I was like, yep, that's why I don't do any of this, because
Did you guys make it into the talent show?
no, 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 no.
Oh.
But the cherry on the top, because the reason I brought this up is when I was in kindergarten, my mom dressed me up as a lion for Halloween, and I still had the costume. And the only thing that fit me was like the headpiece. There was like a little headpiece that
Yes.
had the mane or whatever. And so I show up to this thing just wearing sweatpants and some random t-shirt, and then I have this lion's mane on my head, and I walk in, they're like, why are you dressed like that? And it's like, because I am Simba, duh. And so I kind of
That's
wish
amazing.
I kind of wish that I had that point. I was still at that point in my life where my pride didn't matter. Like, I was just kind of like did whatever for whatever reasons.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's why I brought that story up.
that's amazing.
Cool. So you were doing like talent shows and like sing-alongs with the family and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh, where does it kind of start to transition from something that you're just doing for fun to, hey, I let's start writing stuff. Let's start taking this a little bit more
Yeah.
seriously.
So I started like writing songs probably when I was like 10, and I was really just like messing around. I just, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like making things up. And then actually my mom passed away when I was 13. And I had so many people around me in my life at that time where like, you have to talk to us. We have to know what's going on in your head. Like, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. And I like physically could not talk about it, but I was able to write all of that down into like songs. And
Mhm.
for me, I've always been, and I still definitely am, like a lyricist first. So
Mhm.
I can write like the lyrics and the melody. And then my writing process, I go in then and I go, okay, well, like what key am I singing this in? And then I'll put the music to it. Um, and I think just as I got older, we had some like local competitions at like the fairs and stuff too. We had a country idol specifically, which I grew up listening to country.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do it. And so I just started doing like different cover songs. a lot of like Sarah Evans, Kelly Pickler, Taylor Swift coming onto the scene was huge for
Yeah.
me because we're so close in age.
Yeah.
And getting to see her writing about real life events, I was like, oh, I can write about what's going on in my life and I can write these songs with a real story behind them of like, oh, well, like there's this guy in my math class that I have a crush on, or like my friends were mean to me today. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just really took on this whole new meaning for me of like navigating life through song.
Mm-hmm.
So I still very, very much write through like everything in my life. Like I can point to like one song that I have written now that I'm like, I don't know where this song came from. Like somebody in the universe, like this is their
Yeah.
song, but it's not my story. But like everything else I write, it just comes from such a personal place. And I love that. So I just started doing a lot of those competitions when I was in like high school and enjoyed it. And I started like performing with some local bands, and I was just always doing like cover stuff. And then I got the itch to be like, I should move to Nashville and like do the music thing.
Mm.
So then after high school, I graduated and I went to college down in Tennessee. I went to college on and off a lot in Tennessee and have nothing but debt to show for it. Yay. But it was nice because it made that like transition for moving down to Nashville pretty easy. It's Nashville got really expensive
Yeah.
in the last 9 years, which like everywhere has, I
Yeah.
feel like. But kind of having that built in, like, oh, I'm going to live in a dorm and I'm going to have these built in friends. And so that's how I got to Nashville.
Yeah. It's funny you brought up that all these places are starting to get a little bit more expensive, because it's like, kind of want to go back. So I lived in Roswell, New Mexico for 4 years, and I was just looking at like apartments and stuff. It's still pretty much the same price as when I
Oh,
was out
really?
there in 2014. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
wait, so even if I like, it's the same price essentially. It's gone up a little bit with inflation, but when you're talking
Right.
like 450 to 525, it's like,
Yeah.
I wish I had a 525 rent. Right now I'm paying almost
Right.
triple that, and it's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
yeah, but um I did want to touch on, I'm really proud of you that you were able to find an outlet to kind of deal with the emotions that you were dealing with the passing of your mother. And the fact that you were able to kind of flip that into a music career, or just music in general, is absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. I just
Thank you.
recently lost my mother 2 years ago. And after she passed, I was going through something similar where I didn't know how to say what I needed to say to kind of make myself feel at ease. And I had found a way, because I'm a very personal person. Like, a lot of stuff I keep to myself. It's just how I am. That's how I've always
Yeah.
been. But there was stuff that I needed to say and get off my chest, and I didn't know how to do it. And so one day I just started writing, because my mom's Facebook is still out there. So I was just like randomly send her messages when things kind of popped off. And one day my dad called me and he was like, "Hey, I didn't want to tell you this, but I've been reading all your messages."
Oh,
And I'm like, and so that just kind of destroyed me. And so it wasn't until like within the last year or so that I've really kind of come to terms with, no, I got to do something else, because, this just isn't doing what I needed
yeah.
to do anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's too
I,
heavy to like hold yourself. So you have to figure out how to like navigate through it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so sorry, we kind of went in a couple of different directions on that one, and I'm trying to figure out. So you started after your mom passed, you kind of turned that into the vehicle to start writing music. And then you ended up moving to Nashville. And did how long ago did you leave Nashville? Because you're back in Wisconsin now. So how long ago did
Yeah.
you?
So I was in Nashville for 9 years when COVID started. I was working in like a kind of crappy job situation, and I
Yeah,
ended up quitting and then couldn't find another job because
yeah,
it was COVID and
yeah.
no one was really hiring. So I moved back. in 2020. And I've
Okay.
been back. It'll be 3 years, like mid-June, I think.
Okay.
So.
And I feel like a lot of people had to do that. Once COVID hit, like everything changed.
Yeah.
Like all the fears of, oh damn, I got to move back home. Like everything changed. Like I think everybody's perspective changed on everything.
Yes. And like
Eh,
being closer to family for me was like a big part
mhm.
of it too. Like not knowing what was going to happen with everything. It was like, maybe I should be closer than like 600 miles away.
Right. That's something my dad lives in South Florida. My sister lives up in Northwest Indiana, and I'm out here in Texas. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I probably need to be a little bit closer than 1,800 miles away or
Yeah.
whatever, like whatever it is. And everybody's like, well, move to Nashville. And it's like, yes, I'd love to, but I'm not going to move to Nashville without a job because
Yes.
Nashville is expensive,
Expansive.
as we've talked about. Um, but before the pandemic, you released a single, correct?
Yeah, I did. Song of the Caged Bird.
Mm.
Um, this is awful because I don't even remember exactly when I released it.
I just got 2018. That's when I
Okay,
have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably about right. I was actually at the time I was doing this thing on my Facebook where I took like a deck of cards and I
Mhm.
wrote like my song titles on it. And I would do the Monday lunch shuffle because that was like my day off. And I just would do around lunchtime and I would shuffle and I'd do a Facebook Live. And whatever song I drew, I had to play, which started off for me as just like a way to make myself like practice and like
Mhm.
be okay to play on the spot in case anybody was ever like, hey, can you play us one of your songs? Like I wanted to be ready. And so I was approached like through that by Jim Riley, who used to work for BMI as a
Mhm.
songwriter. And I met up with him for coffee and we talked about, he was like, I really like what you're doing. And just talked about some of my different music goals and things I was working on. And I was actually driving from Tennessee to Wisconsin and I had the idea for Song of the Caged Bird. And so I'm literally like, don't do this, everyone.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, unsafe. On the highway, like voice recording this song. And I wrote it like lyrically so
Yeah.
quickly. And I sent it to Jim and I was like, we have to like record this, like with everything that was going on in the world at that moment too, because
Mhm.
it was like the Me Too movement and everything.
Mhm.
I was like, we have to record this. So I went in with him, and this is awful too because I don't remember the other gentleman's name who worked with us. I have it in my paperwork
Yeah.
somewhere. But we went in and recorded it, and I'm very proud of it as far as like lyrically and like sonically for that song is great. It's funny to me though because it doesn't like truly show my sound as an
Mhm.
artist. So it's people be like, "Oh, do you have any music release?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I have this Song of the Caged Bird," but like it's a very like stand on its own. Like that was a project for that time and like
Yeah.
what I needed to say.
Yeah. That was gonna be my next question was, is this a part of the upcoming EP that you're currently working on? But
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
It, just kind of looking at the release time, it's like 2018, and yeah, you had the pandemic in there, so that kind of all makes sense. Um, Obviously the pandemic screwed a lot of things up for you as far as leaving Nashville and whatnot. Were you originally looking at you have a EP that you're currently fundraising for. I'm going to just say that up front, and that's we're here to help kind of get people excited and build up kind of a background for you. Was this EP something that's been in the works for a while? Like, was this something you were looking at doing before the pandemic hit, or is this a more recent project for you?
Well, what the EP is going to be now is more recent. I have wanted
Okay.
to record for a very long time.
Okay.
The
Fair.
reality is recording is incredibly expensive.
Yes.
I'm looking to raise 6 grand to record 4 to 5 songs. Especially if you want like good quality stuff.
Hmm.
I could figure it out on my own using GarageBand on my iPhone, but that's not something that's going to stand in today's market, especially the way everything now, like with TikTok and just there's so much, it's so saturated that you have to make sure that you're putting out a quality product to be taken seriously. Um, so yeah, I've wanted to record for a very long time. This EP in itself actually started also in 2020.
Hmm.
I went through a really bad breakup, and kind of coming off the like mess of that job that I was in, being in the pandemic, and then this breakup that came out of the blue. I hadn't been writing for a while because there was
Mhm.
just so much going on
Yeah.
that I kind of equated it to like when you break your arm,
Mhm.
you can't expect your strength to be as strong as it was before you broke your arm. You have to like build back up to that. And it like mentally, I felt like that. Like I had just been like beaten down, and it was really hard for me to get back into writing. But the breakup kind of like catalyzed that.
Mhm.
Um, and so originally, I really wanted to do a full album because I wanted it to be like this journey, especially because more time has passed, like this journey through all of these different stages and phases of this breakup of like like it came out of the blue and it really sucks. And like I have a song that I wrote called Thank You that I wrote last year,
Mhm.
I think it was last year, that's literally like saying like thank you for breaking my heart and like ruining all of these things. And
Mhm.
that one I love because the first verse of that song, I deconstructed a love song that I had written for that person. So it was like I had
Mhm.
written this love song that I didn't get to finish because he broke my heart, and then I took parts of that to then put together this song that's like, hey, thank you for ending this because now I'm doing better than ever. And so I wanted to do a whole album like journey through all the different emotions, because there was times where like I was fine, and then there was times where like I saw he changed his profile picture and I was like literally crying on my floor, and then like trying to navigate dating all over again, and like
Mhm.
coming off the pandemic and dating was like, and still is, a nightmare. So
Yeah.
like having elements of that stuff in there too. So I really wanted to do an album of like that whole journey through that. Now I want to do an EP because it's more realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why it's like so important to me that we fund the whole EP, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I get stressed and I'm like, man, if I have to pick one song to like just do a single, like it's just not going to be the same, because it
Yeah.
really is. It's this collection of the ups and downs of going through a
Yeah.
heartbreak.
It's almost like you're taking a step back in time, back when we used to listen to vinyls, or I mean, I guess to even a lesser extent cassette tapes, but
Yeah.
just listening through from beginning to end and listening to a complete story.
Yes. Just the whole journey. And like,
Yes.
yeah.
Um, and just kind of listening to you talk about the what you went through and like the influence as far as like what you're writing about for this album or for this EP. It's just some of the approaches that you're taking. Like you'd mentioned, you had deconstructed a love song. That was really, I would never have thought to do something like that, because it's just,
Yeah.
you know where did you kind of come up with that idea of, like, let's, instead of writing from scratch, let's deconstruct a song and work it from there.
I had written the chorus. I was actually sitting getting ready for a date that I was really excited about. And I, in that moment, wrote the chorus because it was like, that was a moment for me where I was like, everything now is like starting to turn, like I wouldn't have this opportunity to go on this date with this person if I was still with this person. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have taken the job that I took. Like, so I wrote the chorus there, and I was having a really hard time kind of figuring out like what I wanted like the verses to be.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I always write like the best in the shower, or when I'm driving, which is why there's dangerous voice memos on the highway.
but
Or some of my voice recordings that have the shower in the background.
to be
um,
fair, at least you're voice recording while you're in the car and you're
yes,
not
I'm
like
not texting it
text.
out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a clear distinction, because it's like, I feel like voice recording, it's because I do that all the time, but this day and age, you got cars that'll do like, hey, sir, you just kind
Yes.
of do it that way. Whereas, sometimes it's like, oh, hey, let's go get the sound recorder out, but
Yes.
still less dangerous than texting. But go ahead,
Yes,
continue.
100%. But yeah, so I just was, I guess I was just thinking about it, and there was like elements of that song that I still really liked, and I kind of just was like, huh, like I wonder if I use those and changed them like just a little bit to lead into like, I can't remember what the original stuff was, but it was like about this person like being better than my wildest dreams. It was like I kind of took it, instead of like present tense, I took it
Mm.
into past tense and then flipped it to like say, well, I thought these things about you, but now here's like the truth of what my reality is.
Oh, yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a second here to kind of reset, because I just noticed that we had a few new people that came in. So we have Kayla Hawkins joining us today. We are talking about her current fundraising campaign on Indiegogo for her upcoming debut EP. So just kind of reset that. I pinned the link to her Indiegogo page in the comment thread here on Twitch. And then anybody that's listening after the live stream, whether it's on the podcast or here on Twitch, I will keep the link in the description notes so you guys know exactly where to find it. But yes, so I just wanted to reset really quick.
Yeah.
So for this EP, you have you said 4 or 5 songs, right? You have them
4
all
to 5
written?
songs is going to be the goal. I'm currently in the process still of writing some, because I want to have a lot to choose from. Especially now that I'm kind of going in a different sound direction. So when I started doing music, I was country, I did the acoustic thing. But I have like fallen, well, and I've always loved Avril Lavigne. But I've like really fallen in love with like Machine Gun Kelly, and like growing up, we were like only allowed to listen to country and like a little bit of classic rock, like Aerosmith and like,
Yeah.
So I think that was why I was so like, well, I'm just going to do country. And I also always joke that country is like a gateway genre, because I feel
Yeah.
like everyone is like, I'm going to start country. And then they're like, now I'm going pop, or now I'm going rock or whatever. So I wanted these songs, even though they're like heartbreak songs, I want them to be songs you can scream in your car.
Mm.
That is like, to me, that's the best, most beautiful therapy, is just when you like crank the volume and you're just like, so that's like the sound direction I wanted to go, was more of this like alt pop, alt rock kind of a thing. So I'm still writing some stuff, because there's certain songs that I love that I have written that like, if I was doing a full album, I'd probably mix in a little bit more of like that countryside still for those certain songs that like are very country. But for the EP to be like a pretty cohesive project, I still is gonna do. My brain just was like,
It happens to me all the time. I 100%
yeah.
understand.
So I'm still writing, because I want to be able to have a lot to choose from, and just so that the sound sonically is all this. And then I'm kind of hoping that I can either do some acoustic stuff, or like find like a friend that's like trying to build like a production portfolio that might want to do some of the other more like country ones, or just other ones that can't make the EP, to like still have those. But and like producing for me is very important. Like I don't want to just bring my songs to someone and be like, okay, like let's do stuff. Like I want to be involved. I learned that on Song of the Caged Bird. I was like, I want my hands in this. I have songs that I've written drum tracks for. I have songs that like, I'm like, oh, I hear this like guitar lead, or like this riff, or like these doo-doo-doos. Like I want those in there. So I want to be able to voice that. So I would love to be able to produce my own stuff someday. That's years down the road. I don't want to wait years for this EP.
Yeah, no, 100% understood. On a complete side note, when you're ready to do the more acoustic country stuff, reach out to me. That's how we cut our teeth doing live and amplified, was doing like live acoustic recordings. It's a little bit of a different sound, because it's live and you get one take, but you know, for a lot of musicians that are just looking to get a recording out there, it works really well for them. So
oh, I love that. I have a song that we would do, so
awesome.
We're ready.
Awesome. You know, talking about this EP and kind of grasping what the subject matter is, I know you're currently funding for 4 to 5 songs right now, but just in my head as we were talking, what might be really interesting is you doing an EP where you reflect on your 7 stages of grief that you went through. You know, through that entire, obviously doing 7 songs is a little bit of a little bit taller ask, and then you kind of walk the fine line of, is it an EP or is it a short out? And
Yeah.
I get where you're coming on that one, but just a thought that I wanted to throw
Yes.
out.
I've definitely played with that idea a little bit of like, how would I navigate that? Like, is that something? So yeah, I mean, if we blow our goal out of the water and we
Yeah,
can get to 7 songs, then, oh, I would love that.
that's cool. So you're currently in a full-blown writing session where you're just continually writing. Some of the songs that you're looking at, are these songs that, like, the stuff that's been written for a little bit, is it stuff that you're playing out? Like, if you do a show or something, are some of these
Yeah.
songs people have heard?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, like quite a few of them I've played out. I have a song called Used to. That one I've played out quite a bit. I've played that in Nashville and up here in Wisconsin. A song Cross My Heart, which I wrote with Becca Tremmel, who I know from down in Nashville, which is just one of my favorite songs because it's so Taylor Swift in that like every little detail about it is so like you could tell who I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And it was fun because I brought the idea to Becca and I was like, hey, like, I want to do this. And she's like, how do you feel about getting like a little unhinged? And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's just such a good song. It's a song you scream in your car.
Nice.
And then Thank You, I have up on YouTube. That's part of I did a 13 going on 30 because I turned 30 in January. So I put 13 full songs. They're either with piano, backing track, or acoustic guitar on my YouTube. I'm trying to think of what other ones. Oh, Bad Press, which I wrote with Marielle Gesualdi. I'm sorry if I said her last name wrong. That one is, a lot of people love that one, and that one's fun, which I didn't write that one actually about a relationship. I wrote that one kind of about my work experience, but it ties right into
Yeah.
relationships and, new girlfriends talking crap about you. So it's great.
That's so all this kind of going on, what's going as you're like out currently in the full-blown creative process, you're trying to fundraise for this EP. What's kind of running through your mind right now? Are you more worried about hitting your goal, or are you more worried about having the music ready? Where's your kind of mind at right now?
My hitting my goal is the biggest thing. Like I said earlier, like there's times where I'm like, oh, like what if we only raise enough to record one song? Because I chose Indiegogo because they do a flexible deal where if you don't hit your goal, you still get to keep what you did raise. And I didn't want to do like a GoFundMe, which people might be a little more familiar with.
Yeah.
Indiegogo is the exact same thing, just different platform. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to fall short of the goal and then be back to square one of like, well, I can't record anything. But I was thinking about this on my drive to work today, and I was like, man, like, it's just not going to be as much fun to have to like strategically pick the song. Like if I can only record one, like, because then it's going to be like, then we'll have to look at like, well, and I say we, it'll be like me and my producer. I'm saying we, like I have a team. It's me. I would go to my producer and be like, so like, which one do we pick? Because you have to look at things like what's most marketable, what makes the most sense with like sound, what makes the most sense in like the timeline that we're in. Like it's just not as free as being able to do the whole project. So hitting the goal is definitely the biggest thing. I'm not worried about the music aspect of it all at all. Like I love getting to sit down and put together rough demos of stuff. And I have a friend that I just wrote with when I was down in Nashville. He said to me like near the end of our co-write, like, I told you I don't do co-writes. And I was like, I thought you were joking. And he was like, no, I literally don't do co-writes. And I was like, well, you have to keep writing with me because like he's in a pop punk band. They're called Vern, plug. And just like, he gets the sound that I'm going for. So like we started writing this song called Stay, which is definitely like a top contender to be on the EP because it's actually about I was scrolling on TikTok one day and I for like the 5,000th time got one of those TikTok readings that was like, if you're seeing this, like someone from your past wants to come back to you, they know they made mistakes and like something's holding them back, like they don't know if they can come back to you. And I was like, oh my God, like if this is for real, just stay away from me. Which that was the first time I had ever felt that towards this person. I was like, I gotta go write that. So I brought the idea to him and we were able to like really dive into it more. And it's just so, again, it's a song you can scream in your car. So
that's that. It just, you brought up the TikTok thing where I guess, what are they, memes? Or they're not even memes. They're just like whatever they are. It's so bizarre when that happens. And it's like, no, I don't want that to happen. Like, because it happened to me. I was getting ready for work this morning and it popped up and it said something very similar to what you were talking about. And I was like, no, I don't know. Go away. Stay away. Stay away.
No, thank you.
But you also brought up it, like, it's not going to happen. I'm going to just say it up front. You're not going to be forced to choose one song and be like, oh, hey, I only raised enough to record one song. It's not going to happen. I'm going to just put it out there. I'm going to put it out in the universe for you.
Say, I'm very much like, you know what, universe, you've got me. I don't want to say we're off to a slow start. We're probably off to a slow start from some people's standards, but there's still consistency. Like things are still happening. My producer told me I kind of have to pretend I'm a Girl Scout and I'm like selling cookies. He was like, I see a lot of people with crowdfunding things, launch it and then they kind of lose momentum. And he's like, you might feel annoying, but for 30 days, you just have to like talk about this until you're blue in the face. And then after that, like, so what? It was 30 days. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? So it's like,
well, because it's one of those things where this always happens every time somebody does a fundraiser. Like they'll hit me up and say, like, for Live and Amplified, we have to be very strategic about the fundraisers that we support, because if we support your fundraiser, then we got to, it's a very strategic thing that we got to do. But the point being is, everyone that I talk to, they say, oh, we didn't know about your fundraiser. Like the feedback that I get is, we didn't know about your fundraiser. And it's basically because the people weren't annoying enough and weren't just like shoving it in your face. And human nature is to like push it off and be like, okay, I'll deal with this later, until later becomes it's too late. And then it's, so
I have like a list of like, I want to like reach out like directly to like past musicians that I've worked with and been like, hey, like you guys have supported me for so long. Like, I just want to make sure that this crosses your feet, like that this is on your radar. If you can't donate, that's totally fine. But like, you're an artist, you get how this goes. Like, share it with other people that you think will get it, or people that have supported your projects. Like, we're all like a team in it. And that's like, so it's like, that's the thing is, he was like, make a list of people who have said, or like, that they would share it or that they would support it or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm just going to direct message those people, because I want to make sure it's not missed. And there's so much stuff on social media that it's easy for stuff to get missed. So,
because I'm currently going, it's not a fundraising campaign, so the context is a little bit different, but we're working on a project to launch at the end of the year. And so I've been reaching out to bands and musicians, and my past before it would be, hey, we're going to just post this on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that'll be it. And, what we get is what we get. Nowadays I do that and I'd get like 3, 4, maybe 5 people, but directly reaching out to them, I get 3 or 4 or 5 in like 20 minutes. And then it's just, it's a lot of extra work, but it works. So I think if you keep on that train, you're right there. So awesome.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna hit it.
Oh yeah. I have a good feeling about it. So you're currently back in Wisconsin. Do you have plans of going back to Nashville, or you kind of see yourself going back and forth for a while?
I would love to go back to Nashville. I need the stars to align because, like we said, it's very expensive. I have a job up here that I do love. So it's just kind of, if the right thing comes along, like absolutely. But it's it's in the universe's hands right now. If the universe has hands,
I
it's
got you.
there.
I completely understood. It's hard because Nashville is such a popular place to be, so it's automatically becoming a lot more expensive. And it's
Yes.
like, as much as I'd love to just pick up and move to Nashville, I couldn't do it making no money.
Right.
You know,
Like I said, there has to be like some opportunity has to come to me that's like, hey, you would be stupid to pass this
yeah,
off. Like you should take this. And then I'm gonna be
yeah,
like, I should go. And it's so much warmer down there.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So, kind of looking forward into the summer, obviously you're going to be pushing the fundraiser really heavily. How often are you playing shows this summer? Is it something that you're doing pretty consistently or not so much?
I'm actually not doing a lot of shows right now. I think it's a little hard at the moment as well because the way my sound has changed, which
Mhm.
again is why the EP is so important because I've gone from everybody still knows me, especially here. Like I moved back to my hometown. People still know me as like debut Taylor Swift, like little country Kayla.
Yeah,
And they're always, and like people are so sweet. They're like, you should play at this bar or you should play at this coffee shop. And I'm like, that's cool. And I appreciate that. But like, I made a decision like a few years ago, like I just don't play covers. I want to pour all of my time and creative energy into playing my music. And I have like probably now almost like a 2-hour set of
mhm.
original music. But, the local bar on a Friday night isn't going to want a 2-hour set of Kayla Hawkins right now,
Mhm. Yeah,
especially if it's like just acoustic.
yeah,
So I want to use the EP also to be able to properly market myself, to get the right fitting shows to
yeah,
play and to be able to, I want to put a band together. I was in bands when I was younger doing country cover stuff. I miss having a band. I play guitar, but I'm not a guitar player. I don't
right,
love it. I'm a singer. I
yeah,
want to run around on stage and perform. But so I want to be able to use my EP as well to market to potential band members and be like, hey, like this is the sound we're going for. Do you want to be in a
yeah,
band that does this?
yeah.
So
And having music out kind of legitimizes what you're trying to do.
so much so, yes.
It's not just a hope and a dream. It's hey, I'm doing this regardless, but I would like a band to so
Yeah.
we could take this on the road or we could do shows or this is a legitimate thing. Even even with it being easier now to record music than it was 10, 15 years ago, that's neither here nor there, but just
Yeah.
like the idea of musicians seeing, oh, hey, they're already releasing music. There's a track
Yes.
record here.
Yes. Yeah. It's
So,
so much like when and I still do it because for lack of a better option right now, like
yeah,
I'll record, acoustic or piano stuff like in my bedroom, which was like cute and probably looked pretty good when I was like 15, 16 years
yeah,
old. But like I'm 30 now and I want to be taken more seriously.
yeah.
And people are probably like, okay, like why? Well, why isn't she playing out? And like, I played Summerfest last year and I played a little festival in Nashville. So like I've played some really cool spots, but it's just finding the right space to be able
Mhm.
to bring my original music and have it be taken seriously and appreciated. So
Yeah, 100%. That's really what it is just putting even doing all the legwork yourself, just kind of putting yourself in that position where, hey, I'm serious about this. I'm looking for serious musicians
yes.
because, I've definitely seen a lot of situations where somebody tries to put a band together, but because they weren't willing to put the work in themselves, the band, like they'll get a band together because there's hundreds of musicians that just want to
Yes.
play and be a part of something. But at the end of the day, they're not going to take it as seriously as they should, or they would if they knew, like, oh, hey, this is actually a thing. This isn't just
Yeah.
four people in the basement screwing around.
Yeah. Like there's a goal and a direction and
Yeah,
like marketing material and yeah.
yeah, for sure. What is the independent scene like in where you're at in Wisconsin?
I'm not far from Milwaukee, so
Okay.
there is like a decent independent scene there. The hardest thing for me that I missed the most from Nashville was the
Mhm.
writers rounds, which again, not like the right market for me to play like a full band sort of thing, but
Mhm.
like I liked being able to go and just play the new songs that I had written for people that wanted to hear them. I did try to like start a writers round in my area, but
Yeah.
it just didn't really like take a hold.
Mm.
But there is like a decent amount of independent artists like in the Milwaukee area. So
Yeah. I'd imagine if you're including like the Milwaukee area, that makes a lot of sense because,
yeah.
it's a big enough city where it's like, oh, hey, and maybe it's trying to organize. I don't know. Well, you said you tried to organize a writers round in your
Yep.
area, but just, you know, it's if you're doing it in a small area, not everybody's taking it as seriously. It's just
Yes.
Joanne because she needs a break from her kids and she wants to play that Taylor Swift cup, just like whatever it is. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah. Um, so
Yeah.
kind of taking a step away from the music and just in your day-to-day life, what do you do to decompress? What are some of your hobbies outside of music when Kayla needs to step away?
Yeah. Kayla doesn't have a lot of free time. Kayla
Fair.
works 2 jobs. So, but like we talked about, the horses stuff is still very prevalent in my life. That's actually what I do full time for work. I'm a barn manager and a therapeutic riding instructor. I also joke that the horses usually get to hear all of my songs first. And another place that I write well, so on top
Yeah.
of speeding down the highway and in my shower, cleaning stalls, there have been many songs
Fair.
birthed in the middle of shoveling poop. So I try to spend a decent amount of time like with my own horse, especially now that the weather is getting better. I'll do more stuff with him. My grandfather still has a horse and I work with him. So mess around with his horse a little bit. So horses are like the big thing.
Mhm.
But I also just like hanging out with my friends. I really like anything outdoors. Like I like going fishing.
Yeah.
Bonfires are great. Going to concerts.
Yeah.
I'm also into like the meditation, horoscope, tarot card, crystal stuff. So I usually listen to like some sort of meditation before I go to bed because otherwise my brain is just like, la.
Yeah.
So
I've actually
bring it down.
found that I've actually found it's not so much a meditating thing. It's like a it's a neuro thing for me. So like
Yeah.
I have this app on my phone where it'll just play soothing sounds, usually depending on the mood I'm in. It'll either be a thunderstorm or like the waves crashing up against the
Yes.
beach, like ocean waves or whatever. And I'll just like if I have a throbbing headache or I just need to like relax before I go to bed, I'll turn all the lights off and just turn on one of those sound packs and just sit there for 20 minutes. So I don't know if that's really meditating, but it's just kind of soothing.
Yes. There's also, if you are ever like, if you want to like expand your horizons on
Mhm.
that, because I'm like weird about like, I
Yeah.
don't know, woo woo witchy stuff, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. But like binaural beats, it's
Mhm.
BINAURAL, I think is how you spell it.
Mhm.
But all these different sound frequencies like supposedly do different stuff. And I mean,
Mhm.
I've used it for like really bad congestion and it's
Mhm.
helped. I've used it for like really bad headaches and it's helped. So like all those different sound frequencies, man, like there is power
Yeah.
in sound.
So it's so I kind of dumbed down what my app is, but that's exactly what it
Is that
is.
what it
So
is?
yeah, so it because it disguises the frequencies with like different
Oh,
like
that's so
whether it's the
cool.
rainforest or
Yeah.
waves crashing, but it's got presets. So it'll say, okay, I've got a throbbing headache, this, or I got a
Yeah.
hangover, or
It'll
I've only
set you
got
to a
an
specific like hertz.
yeah, and so that's exactly what it is,
So
and
cool.
it is the best 99 cents I've ever paid for
I
in
say
my
you're gonna have to
life.
send me that app
Yeah,
because I want to explore now.
yeah, it's really cool. No, it's just funny that's I was trying to dumb it down, and then you just kind of stepped right
I'm like,
into
I
it.
know.
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh, so what's the last concert you've been to? You said you like going to concerts. What's the
Yeah, where was I? I feel like I was at one recently. Was I at one recently? Oh my gosh. I've been like watching the Taylor Swift live streams, so
Fair.
it doesn't count as a real concert. Where I feel like I went to one not that long ago, but maybe I didn't. I'm going to some soon, so I'm excited about that.
Okay,
Wow, yeah, I
what's the
can't.
next concert then that you're looking to go to?
I am going to. Me and my friend are going to go see Brett Eldredge when he is at Summerfest. I think that's my next one coming on up.
Awesome.
So, oh, my friend actually just texted me. Country Thunder was one of the
Oh,
ones that I went. She wants to see Megan.
that's fun. Yeah, she's in the chat. Okay, now the chat name makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay.
That's
Yeah. So yeah, we went to Country Thunder. We kind of saw Hardy, but then the weather just went to crap because
mhm.
it's Country Thunder and it always does. And then we saw Morgan Wallen. So it was
Nice.
really fun.
That's really cool. I wish I had a cool answer like that, but like all the concerts that I go to are all like independent musicians because I've kind of put myself in this, not put myself in a corner, but I feel really bad if I go spend $100 to go see some band. Instead, I could take that $100 and go support like 15 local
I was gonna
bands.
say you can go to lots of different bands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which that's definitely cool. But every once in a while, it's like I think I well, and like I mean, I guess that's where so like I'd mentioned before, I lived out in New Mexico for a little bit. And one of the venues out there, he's starting to do bring in bands that had like a good run in the late 90s and early two, like just a lot
Oh,
of bands that
cool. Yeah.
we grew up listening to. And because his venue isn't that big, it's only like $25. So last summer I got to go see Saliva for $25.
That's awesome.
And he brings in a lot of like country artists and I missed it. He just recently had Sundance Head, is that his name? The guy, he was from like season 3 or 4 or 5 of The Voice.
Yeah.
um and so just kind of some of the names that he's bringing in, it's like, oh, that's really cool. That and
Yeah.
so I don't feel bad going to those shows because it's only like $25. But if I want to go see like Rage Against the Machine or something and just like really destroy my hearing, and it's going to cost me $150, I feel a little guilty doing that. But
That's
you know,
kind of how I feel about Brett Eldredge because he's at like one of the like free stages. So it's like
yeah,
the $28 general admission
yeah,
to get in, which I'm like, which also there's so many good artists at Summerfest in Milwaukee this
yeah.
year. Kaylee Shore is going to be there, and I'm pretty sure
That's
Morgan Wade's also going to be there. And I'm mad because they're at like days and times that I can't go see them.
yeah.
And they're like Kaylee Shore is an independent artist.
Mhm.
Morgan Wade has a label now, but
Yeah.
she is like still like a newer artist, and I like love
I've
her.
been
I'm like, I
trying to
want to
get
go see
more.
her. I'm like,
I've been trying to get Morgan Wade on the podcast for about 4 years now, but
oh,
it's just like when when the pandemic first started, we were able to get some bigger names because nobody was
yeah,
doing anything. So I was just like throwing darts at the dartboard and like,
yeah,
hey, come on. And unfortunately for Morgan Wade, it just didn't happen. It
man,
was just like, dang it. Okay, fair.
yeah.
So no, that's really cool. So Country Thunder, that's
I saw Josh Turner not that long ago too. I went with my dad and brother for that. So
okay. Fair. I don't know who that is. So I
he's a
like,
country singer.
okay. I like, as much as I'm trying to get more. So we do a country radio show. I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah. Um, I'm trying to get into the more country thing, like because when I grew up, country wasn't something that was on my radar. Like I grew up in
yeah,
Chicago, so country wasn't really a thing for me. And then it wasn't until I went to college. I went to college at Southern Illinois University down in Carbondale, and that's where country really started to infuse. And it
yeah,
was a lot of like old school country. Like these guys were listening to, you know, Waylon Jennings, just like really old school
real
stuff.
old school. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So I kind of
Outlaws.
I missed like a lot of the 90s and mid 2000s and all that stuff, but
That's all
it
right.
is it is what it is.
Yes.
Oh, cool. So for anybody that wants, actually no, before we start wrapping this up, we're gonna play a fun little game here. I feel like I've been asking you random questions anyways, but we're gonna make it official.
Love it.
So we play this fun little game called That's So Random. I have a random question generator on my phone, and I'm going to just ask you 5 random questions, and that's the name of the game. That's so
Alrighty.
random.
I'm buckled in and ready.
Okay, perfect. So here we go. That's so random. What do people come to you for?
I recently learned that people feel comfortable coming to me for advice on like anything. And I love that. I love that so much that I'm seen as a safe space.
For sure. Throughout your life, how many cars have you owned?
2. It was Sally the Cobalt, and now I have Harold the Honda.
Nice. I have Bertha the Kia.
I love it.
I always give my cars old white women names. It's yeah. All right. Question number 3. Would you rather live in the wilderness far from civilization? Wow. Or would you rather live homeless in the streets of a city?
No, give me the wilderness. I'll figure it out.
Fair. Very fair. 4th question. How old were you when you had your first kiss?
Oh, you're making me think. I think I was 14 or 15. It was clearly it wasn't very important in my brain because I don't remember exactly how old I was.
And then, who is the most productive person you know?
Oh, is it bad if I say myself? Because I feel like I'm nonstop doing things. Also, no, I will say myself because I give myself crap all the time for feeling like I'm never doing enough. And yet I'm constantly doing way too much. So high five to me for that
Very
one.
fair. And then, just because this should be relatively easy to answer, what is the worst injury you've ever experienced?
Oh,
Shocking.
You say it should be easy, but shockingly, knock on all of the wood.
Yeah.
I feel like I've only had like 2 like bigger injuries. I flew over my horse's head into a fence and I cracked the cartilage in my nose.
Oh no.
And then last year, one of our draft horses at work knocked me into the metal bars in a stall and gave me a concussion. But it was my fault. I was on his blind side. He just really likes to rub on everybody with his nose, and he just went too hard and I lost my balance. So
that's what scares me about horses is one of my dad's oldest friends, he used to own a horse farm down in Florida. Like they used to race horses and whatnot.
yeah.
I think that's what they did. And so one year for vacation, we were going to Orlando, and we stopped at his horse farm because I guess it was around Orlando or something. And I just remember seeing these big, massive horses, and they're like, hey, don't sneak up behind him because he's going to kick you in the head. And that, for whatever reason, that just stuck with me. And yes, it's a very real thing. I've seen it on YouTube a million times where horses kick and whatnot, but I don't know. It's always put the fear of horses in for me.
It's also so funny because like as a horse person, like I've even had to tell my students like do as I say, not as I do, because like horse people are like we'll crawl under their stomachs, like right around their back end. Like we just I don't know. I live on the edge, I guess.
Well, it's one of those things where I think your horses are a little bit more comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Whereas if I were to come walking and they don't know me or recognize me, it's like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to kick him away.
And like,
or, you know,
I super know how to like read into their body language. So like, I know if it's going to be like a sketchy situation or not. Like there was a time, it was earlier today, actually there. I was like, oh, I don't know this horse that well yet. So like, I'm going to take a little step back because I'm not sure what it's going to do. Where other ones I'm like, oh, come on, stop being dumb. Get over here. Like
fair. Very fair. And then what's a piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
Oh, just freaking do it. I spent a lot of years doubting myself and like putting things off until I was better at things. So just go for it, figure it out as you go. If people make you feel dumb, laugh along and just keep going.
Fair. Very fair. And then if anybody wants to check out these progress or donate to your fundraiser or just interact with you on socials, catch you at a show, like whatever it is, where's the
Yeah.
best place to find you?
Kayla Hawkins music at like everything. I'm super active on my Instagram right now, and my Facebook, both of which are Kayla Hawkins music. My website, Kayla Hawkins music, is going under a little bit of like overhaul at the moment. I also have a monthly newsletter that I do if I remember to stay on top of it, because sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Fair.
But so if anybody wants to join the monthly newsletter, there is a link for that on my website, and it's called The Herd, because being a horse girl, I'm gathering my herd. So
Fair. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was an absolute
thank
blast.
you.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you want to support Kayla Hawkins and her upcoming EP, we have the comment or the donation link in our comment threads and our descriptions and all that fun stuff. We try and make it as easy as we can for you. If you want to support anything Live and Amplified does, liveandamplified.net is the place to go. It's got everything we ever do. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you all later.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Oh, that was so fun.
Hold on. Stop recording. I got to cut so many things. Where's my stop stream? Where's my stop streaming? Oh no, I'm missing something. Oh boy. Oh.
Technology.
It's on here. There it is.